You've been told all your life that attraction is complicated, that you need money, status, perfect looks, or some secret formula to win a woman's heart. But what if I told you that everything you've been chasing, everything you've been trying to become, can be replaced with just two simple words? Words so powerful, they don't just attract a woman, they make her feel seen, understood, and deeply connected to you. Listen carefully, because this is not about manipulation, tricks, or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about understanding human emotion at its deepest level. This is about connection, real, raw, unforgettable connection. There was a man once ordinary in every sense. No luxury car, no expensive watch, no model. Like appearance. He worked a simple job, lived a simple life, and yet women were naturally drawn to him. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, magnetic way. People couldn't explain it. Even his closest friends would ask, "What is it about you?" And one day, someone finally asked him directly, "What do you say to women that makes them stay?" He smiled, not with arrogance, but with understanding. And he said, "I don't try to impress them, I try to understand them." Think about that for a moment. In a world where everyone is trying to be louder, richer, more dominant, this man chose something different. He chose presence, he chose attention, he chose emotional awareness, because the truth is most people don't listen anymore. They wait for their turn to speak, they interrupt, they judge, they assume, but very few truly listen. And that's where the magic begins. You see, every woman you meet is carrying a story. A story of dreams, fears, disappointments, hopes, moments where she felt invisible, misunderstood, or not enough. And deep inside, whether she shows it or not, she is searching for someone who makes her feel safe to be herself. Not perfect, just real. Now imagine this, she's talking maybe about her day, maybe about something small, maybe about something that doesn't even seem important. And instead of trying to impress her, instead of trying to turn the conversation back to yourself, you look at her, you listen, and you say two words. "I understand," not casually, not carelessly, but with presence, with eye contact, with sincerity that she can feel. I understand. Those two words, when spoken with honesty, do something powerful. They break down walls. They calm insecurities. They create a bridge between two souls. Because what she hears is not just words. What she hears is, "You matter, you are not alone, I see you," and that is something rare. But let me be clear, this is not about saying words just to get a reaction. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can feel the difference between genuine understanding and empty words. If you say, "I understand," without truly listening, it loses all power. So the real question is not, what are the magic words? The real question is, are you willing to become the man who means them? Because understanding someone requires patience. It requires you to step out of your own ego, your own need to be right, your own desire to impress, and instead enter her world. It means asking yourself, what is she really feeling? What is she not saying? What is hidden behind her words? And when you begin to see that, when you begin to feel that your entire presence changes, you stop chasing and start connecting. You stop performing and start being. And something beautiful happens. Women begin to feel it. Not because you said the perfect line, but because you made them feel understood in a world where they rarely are. And that is where attraction truly begins, because attraction is not built on perfection, it's built on emotion. And emotion is created through connection. So before you try to learn another line, before you try to change how you look or what you have, ask yourself this. When was the last time you truly listened to someone without thinking about yourself? When was the last time you made someone feel heard without expecting anything in return? Because the man who masters that doesn't need tricks. He becomes unforgettable. And this is only the beginning, Because once you begin to understand this, once you truly embrace the power of making someone feel seen, something inside you starts to shift. You stop approaching women with pressure in your chest, that desperate need to say the right thing, to avoid saying the wrong thing, to somehow prove your worth in a matter of minutes. That pressure disappears, and in its place comes calmness, a quiet confidence that doesn't beg for attention, it naturally earns it. There was another moment in that same man's life, a moment that revealed even more about why those two words carried so much power. He met a woman at a small gathering. She was surrounded by people, laughing, smiling, but there was something in her eyes that didn't match her smile. Most men didn't notice it. They were too busy trying to entertain her, impress her, compete for her attention. But he noticed, not because he was trying to be special, but because he had trained himself to observe, to feel, to be present. Later that evening, when the noise faded and conversations became quieter, he found himself sitting beside her. There was no grand entrance, no rehearsed line, just a simple moment. She started talking. At first, it was light, casual, the kind of conversation everyone has. But slowly, without even realizing it, she began to open up about her stress, her confusion, the pressure she felt in her life. And he didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix her problems. He didn't turn the conversation back to himself. He just listened. And when she paused, when her voice softened and her guard dropped just a little, he looked at her and said those two words again. I understand. This time something changed. She went silent, not because she had nothing to say, but because for the first time in a long time she felt heard. Truly heard, and that feeling, it overwhelmed her more than any compliment ever could. You see, most men think attraction is about saying something impressive. But real attraction, deep, lasting attraction, comes from emotional safety. A woman doesn't open her heart to the man who talks the most. She opens her heart to the man who understands the most, and here's where it becomes even deeper. Understanding is not about agreeing with everything she says. It's not about losing yourself or becoming weak. It's about acknowledging her feelings even when you don't fully share her perspective. It's about saying, I see where you're coming from. It's about giving her space to be human just like you. Because when a woman feels judged, she closes. When she feels ignored, she distances. But when she feels understood, she connects. And connection is the foundation of everything. Now imagine how rare that is in today's world. People are scrolling, distracted, half present in conversations. Everyone wants attention, but very few know how to give it. So when you become the man who listens deeply, who responds with sincerity, who says, I understand, and truly means it, you stand out without even trying. You become different, not in a loud, flashy way, but in a way that feels safe, grounded, and real. And that's what draws people closer. But there's something else you must realize. These two words are not just for her. They are also for you. Because the more you practice understanding others, the more you begin to understand yourself. Your own emotions, your own reactions, your own patterns. You become more aware, more centered, more in control. And that inner strength, that emotional intelligence, becomes your true attractiveness, not your clothes. Not your money, not your status, but your ability to connect on a deeper level. And when a woman feels that she doesn't just notice you, she remembers you because in a world full of noise, you gave her something rare, peace, presence, understanding. And that is something she will always come back to. But this journey, it doesn't stop here. Because there's another layer, a deeper truth that most men never discover, a truth that transforms not just how women see you, but how you see relationships, connection, and even yourself. And once you understand this next part, everything changes. Because what you're about to understand now is where most men fail, even after learning everything you've heard so far. They hear about connection, they hear about understanding, they even start saying the right words. But deep inside, They're still chasing something. Validation, approval, a reaction. And the moment you start needing something from a woman, you lose the very thing that makes you attractive. You see, those two words, I understand, only work when they come from a place of strength, not need. There was a time when that same man, the one everyone admired for his calm presence, went through a difficult phase in his life. He met a woman he truly liked. For the first time, he wasn't just observing, he was emotionally invested. And slowly, without realizing it, he started changing. He began overthinking his words. He started checking his phone more often, waiting for her replies, hoping she would notice him the same way he noticed her. And one day he caught himself. He looked in the mirror not at his face, but at his state of mind. And he asked himself a question that changed everything. Am I trying to understand her, or am I trying to be chosen by her? That question hit him deeply, because in that moment he realized something powerful. The moment you seek validation, you stop being present. And when you're not present, your words lose meaning. Even I understand becomes empty because it's no longer about her. It's about what you hope to get in return. Attention, affection, acceptance, and women can feel that, not logically, but emotionally. It creates a subtle pressure and invisible weight in the interaction. And instead of feeling safe, she starts to feel responsible for your emotions, and that slowly pushes her away. So he made a decision. He decided to return to himself, to stop chasing outcomes and start valuing the moment. To speak not to impress, not to gain, but to connect, and something incredible happened. The pressure disappeared. His presence came back, his calmness returned, and suddenly the same woman who seemed distant began to come closer. Not because he tried harder, but because he stopped trying to control the result. This is the deeper truth most people never understand. Attraction grows in freedom, not pressure. When a woman feels like she has to respond a certain way, she pulls back. But when she feels free, when she feels no expectations, she leans in naturally. And your role is not to force attraction. Your role is to create an environment where it can happen. Through presence, through understanding, through emotional strength. And that's where those two words become truly powerful again. I understand. Now they're not just words, they are a reflection of who you are. A man who is grounded, who is not shaken by silence, who is not desperate for attention, who listens because he values connection, not because he wants something in return. That kind of man is rare, and rarity creates attraction. But let me take you even deeper, because real understanding is not just about listening to what she says when things are easy. It's about how you respond when things are difficult, when she's emotional, when she's distant, when she's confused, or even pulls away. Most men react. They get frustrated. They take it personally. They try to fix everything, or they walk away in anger. But the man who truly understands does something different. He stays calm. He doesn't lose himself. He doesn't chase, but he also doesn't withdraw emotionally. He observes. He listens even to what is not being said. And in the right moment, he speaks with clarity, not emotion. And sometimes those same two words, said with patience, can bring everything back to balance. I understand, and not as a weakness, but as strength, because real strength is emotional control. Real strength is the ability to remain centered when everything around you feels uncertain. And when a woman sees that in you, she doesn't just feel attracted, she feels safe. And safety is the foundation of love, trust, and deep connection. But there's one final layer to this, one truth that transforms everything you've learned into something unforgettable. Because understanding her is powerful, understanding yourself is transformational, and when those two come together, you don't just attract a woman. You become the kind of man she never forgets. And now we arrive at the final layer, the part that turns everything you've heard into something real, something you don't just use, but something you become, because at the end of the day, it was never about the words. It was never just about saying, I understand. It was about becoming a man who truly does. There came a moment in that man's life, a quiet evening, no noise, no distractions, just him and his thoughts. And he realized something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. He realized that before he could deeply understand anyone else, he had to face himself. His fears, his insecurities, his need for approval, his past experiences that shaped how he saw love, rejection, and connection. Because the truth is, if you don't understand your own emotions, you will always misread someone else's. If you don't face your own loneliness, you will try to fill it through others. If you don't accept yourself, you will constantly seek acceptance from outside. And that is where everything breaks. So he did something different. He stopped running from himself. He began to sit with his thoughts, to observe them without judgment. When he felt insecure, he didn't hide it. He asked himself why. When he felt the urge to chase someone's attention, he paused and reflected, and slowly something powerful began to happen. He became aware, and awareness is where real transformation begins. Because now, when he looked at a woman, he didn't see someone to impress or someone to win over. He saw another human being with her own story, her own struggles, her own emotions. And instead of trying to take something from the interaction, he simply showed up as himself. Present, calm, grounded, and when he said those two words, "I understand," they carried a different energy. They were no longer just about her feelings. They were a reflection of his inner clarity, his emotional maturity, his ability to connect without losing himself. And that's what made him unforgettable, not because he was perfect, but because he was real. Because in a world where people pretend, he was honest. In a world where people rush, he was patient. In a world where people seek attention, he offered presence. And presence is the rarest gift you can give anyone. So understand this deeply. You don't attract a woman by becoming someone else. You attract her by becoming more of who you truly are without fear, without desperation, without pretending. Those two words, "I understand," are not a trick. They are a doorway. A doorway into connection, into trust, into something deeper than surface-level attraction. But only if they come from truth. Only if they come from a man who has taken the time to understand life, people, and most importantly, himself. So the next time you find yourself in front of a woman, don't think about what to say. Don't think about how to impress. Just be there, listen, feel, and when the moment is real, when the connection is genuine, and let those words come naturally. I understand. And then let silence do the rest, because sometimes it's not what you say that creates attraction. It's how you make someone feel long after the words are gone. And now, as you stand at the end of this journey, there's something I want you to remember, something simple, yet powerful enough to change the way you see every connection in your life. You were never meant to chase love. You were never meant to prove your worth to anyone. You were never meant to become someone else just to be chosen. Because the truth is, the moment you start chasing, you forget your value. The moment you start pretending, you lose your authenticity. And the moment you seek validation, you give away your power. But the moment you choose to understand, everything changes. Not just in how women see you, but in how you see yourself. You become calmer, stronger, more aware. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop fearing rejection and start respecting yourself. And in that space, something beautiful begins to grow. Real connection, the kind that doesn't need force. The kind that doesn't fade with time. The kind that is built on truth, not illusion. So when you walk into your next conversation, don't carry pressure in your heart. Don't carry fear in your mind. Carry presence, carry sincerity. Carry the quiet confidence of a man who knows he doesn't need to impress because he already understands. And when the moment feels right, when the energy is real, when her words carry emotion and meaning, look into her eyes, not with desire to take, but with intention to connect, and say those two words, I understand, and not to win her, not to control the outcome, but to honor the moment, because in the end, it's not the words that attract her. It's the man behind them, the man who listens when others speak, the man who feels when others ignore. The man who stays grounded when others lose themselves. Become that man, and you won't just attract a woman, you will attract respect. You will attract trust, you will attract a connection that goes beyond the surface into something rare, something lasting, something real. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize that the greatest thing you ever attracted was not her attention, but your own transformation.